Shaitanirajim, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, dear brothers and sisters. Welcome to our program. Last program, we did a little talking about multiple subjects. We talked about time management and how we should manage our time. We read a quote from Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa sallam. That said to divide your day into 4 parts: one for religious, one for work, one for your family, and one for entertainment. So on today's program, inshallah, we'll try to talk about something besides that, if we can. And today's topic, we're going to be talking about injustice, and how we have to stand up against injustice, stand up, if we see something wrong going on, we have to stand up against it. Of course, it's Nahi al Munkar. We're actually required as Muslims that if you see, somebody's doing injustice to someone, somebody's going over their rights, we're actually required as Muslims to, say something. Now, of course, that's the different levels. It's not, if somebody's getting beat up, we're not talking about that, because this isn't a teenager high school video where they show you, oh look, stand up against bullying, man. Of course we do condemn bullying, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yes. But that's not what we're talking about today. So, joining me are my guests, Brother Hadi.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Brother Hussein.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Sister Masuma.
Assalamu alaikum.
And Sister Wajiha.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
And so, starting it off, let's just ask a question that applies to the basic person. And that question is, why should we care about, injustice going on somewhere else if it doesn't even affect us? Why should we care about that? Anyone like to tell us, or at least what you think? Nobody?
Well, when there was a poem during, I think the Holocaust, that when they said that, if you don't stand up, I don't know how it went though, but there was a poem and it talked about if you don't stand up for some people, like for example, you don't stand up for the yellow, the black, the white, the red, right? Slowly but surely, everybody would be, targeted. And I'm just saying this in colors, not in in specific ethnicities. But the thing is that if you don't stand up for somebody, it most probably would happen to you later on as well. Don't ever think that you're safe if something bad is happening to another person. Because if this action is not condemned properly and cut in the bud, then it's going to spread and it's going to, create like a wildfire. It's going to spread like that.
Yeah, and we can see that across. What are some of the main countries? Of course, there's a lot of examples because I don't want to say it. But anyone like to tell us what are some of the main acts of injustice that we can see going on in the world?
Places like Yemen,
Yeah.
places like Syria, places like Iraq, all around the Middle East.
Yeah,
Palestine,
Palestine's like
probably the main one.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been more, but there's probably gonna continue to be more. But
Oh,
China.
Burma with the
yeah, Burma,
Myanmar.
the Uyghur Muslims.
Yes.
Well, if something's happening to someone else and you don't get involved, it also means you're not. It's about yourself. If you're not strong enough, like if somebody's getting bullied and you just walk by, that means you're scared of the bully. I mean, you'll get mugged, but but at least you stand up for yourself. At least too. At least get a little reputation. I mean.
Okay.
I think it's working on top of that. I think it's more about the type of person you are. I think that's what Brother Hussein is trying to say.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The type of person, it really shows your character when you speak up against injustice and things that are wrong.
That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to talk about, injustice on the higher level, some juicy topics, but let's just talk about bullying now, because that's what you guys want to talk about, bullying.
But like bullying and injustice, like bullying is like
Yeah.
a lower level, but like injustice is like on a higher level, right? It's like
Yeah.
like like
But it's-
injustice,
it's
like
like
a higher
it's the
version of
same-
bullying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like a stronger party or like a bigger party is like harming the weaker and the smaller party, right?
Yeah.
And that's again a form of bullying and just injustice. But of course, at a higher scale, you have to have more people, more witnesses, more voices, more activists to condemn the action. And of course, with bullying, even one person can make a huge difference.
Yeah. Have you ever been in? Has anyone ever been in that situation? Like where you see some injustice going on. I mean, hopefully you did something about it, brother Hobby.
I mean, I haven't seen anything recently, but you always hear of things. But I think when I was younger, I would just see stuff, and I didn't really understand what you would have to do in those situations. So I just kind of stood there, and it was probably wrong of me to do that.
Yeah. I mean, my basic level was because I don't want to give too juicy stories. This is live, right? Or at least a recording. But I just think of those, those videos, right? They show you in second grade or something, third grade. It's like, stop bullying, man. It's not cool. And there's a guy who looks like he's crazy. Stop bullying, man.
Yeah, I feel
But-
like the bullying they show, especially in schools, and the quote unquote injustice that they show is really superficial.
Yeah.
And it's really it's not really realistic. to
Yeah. What do you
actually-
think? What part do you think schools play in all of that? Like injustice. Bullying. What part do you think schools play?
I think school is the main battleground of bullying. It's
Yeah.
the main part because in schools they basically just show the videos so they don't for liability reasons, so they don't get sued
you
or
didn't get beat up
anything.
because of me. It's 'cause
Yeah,
of the other
they're
guy.
we don't condone bullying, but
Because of your parents at home. It's their
yeah,
fault.
exactly. So
Yeah.
I feel like school is basically the central ground of bullying, and they don't really care. It's just they just show that what, we don't condone bullying, but if anything's happening and we can't do anything about it, then well, that's not our problem. We just did our part of.
Yeah.
Well, with school bullying, there's a different level, right? If school bullying, you're walking in the hallway and then you see some guy get pushed up against the locker and you run away. Let's be honest.
This isn't an 80s television.
Well,
Please, realistic.
that's classic.
Yeah, I mean, it does happen, of course.
It does happen all over. But if you saw that and you ran away, that would call an idiot.
Oh, because, yeah, I mean. Thank you for your words of wisdom, Brother Saint. Yeah, like we were talking about, that's basically the essential thing, is Nahi al Munkar, which, like we were talking about, if you see injustice going on, you have to do something about it. So, like we were talking about, the school level. And then what's the other level? What can we do to stand up against places like the
Countries.
the big.
Political.
Well,
Nobody
in public
say it, please.
places, but if I think in today's time, even if you don't have the courage to say something, all you can do is pull out your phone and make sure you're recording the incident so that you have evidence, so that you could later on, the person who's getting victimized can have proof that what was happening. I think that's the least you can do today.
Yeah, so that's like we're talking about the bullying part, but I'm talking about what on a larger scale,
Well,
talking about huge.
on a larger scale is according to maybe countries and political, and even in a grocery store. Even in a grocery store, if you go there, and maybe because of different race,
Please.
racial injustice. What is this show about?
Okay. So I think that since social media has such a big impact on today's society, and
Yeah.
kids varying from little ages to elder ages, they have all social media platforms. So I
Yeah.
think it would be smart if we have some sort of pages or channels that support the problems that are going on, and that way it's advertised and all type of people can watch what's going on and the word gets out quicker that way. So I think that's things we should do.
I think to build on that with the social media aspect, I feel like social media makes it seem like everyone is facing injustice, and people who really I mean, maybe they are, but it's I guess there's categories, and they're putting others, some people in a higher hierarchy than other people who actually need it. And I feel like that's been going on a lot.
It's like a pity party,
Yeah.
right?
It's whoever
so suffers the most gets most of the attention, right? I mean, unfortunately, people who may not have as oppressive stories, they don't get much attention compared to others who do have it. But I feel like every level of oppression or every level of pain should be, all considered and like welcomed and like, embraced at an equal level. And
Yeah,
given enough
I
attention.
feel like it's really just like pick and choose with social media and
Yeah.
justice.
Yeah, because of course with social media you have, like we're talking about, like the big things, like even genital baki, which is obviously one of the
Definitely.
major injustices. Even doing like small things, like what are something we can do to like do our part, like
I think something we can do to, I think just like sharing posts on social media doesn't really do anything.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
like people think that, oh yeah, I'm gonna share this and I'm making a difference, but at the end of the day, what is that gonna do?
but what if you like it?
That's not gonna do anything either.
Are you sure?
But I think the biggest thing you can do is actually go out and take action, because actions speak are greater than words. So if we use our actions and do protests, we do peaceful protests for these people who are facing injustice, and actually spread awareness, except like not just sharing the same post all like thousands of times. I don't think that would actually help anything. It's just gonna make people aware, but people aren't gonna want to do anything.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between sitting on your couch and clicking something, and then there's another thing, which actually making a difference. Because at the end of the day, with some of these injustices going on, even if they see, oh, something has this amount of likes or this and that, it's not if they're going to be like, oh my gosh, we have to, back off. That's not how it works. And of course, with even genital blockade, like we were talking about, even people protesting, they've been protesting for so long, and even like it's just doing your part, because it's been how long it's been for genital blockade, like 100 years or
Somewhere around
yeah, it's
there,
been a long
yeah.
time, and people have been protesting ever since. But we just have to do our part, and at least just to show our imam and just to show Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we actually just tried to make a difference, and that's the main thing we can do. And even goes on different levels, like we were talking about the other level, even in school. If you see something going on, at least try to tell someone, try to do something, just so you have it on record. That intention that you tried to do something, and help. And that's why another problem why, especially Muslims, in the idea of the school system. Did you feel like they kind of look down upon Muslims in school? Someone say it's a controversial topic, guys.
Yeah, I think definitely. I feel like probably all of us here have experienced some sort of like racism against each other, against us, like in the
Not joking.
against us in the especially in the American school system, because it's just like the way like our religion is depicted and the way our people are depicted, and I feel like every Muslim experiences it. Some people who aren't even Muslim, like I know some Sikh people, like they get
Yeah.
called like these names, and I feel like it's just lack of knowledge and ignorance and arrogance.
To add on to that, in schools, personally, alhamdulillah, I didn't experience any sort of racism in New York, but I've seen that kids who were attacked for wearing hijabs or abayas, in
Yeah.
schools, they were just, the authorities would be like, now what can we do? Like, look at what you're wearing. We cannot tell them not to make fun of you, Like,
Yeah.
they would just make you feel bad. They're like, and indirectly, that's also bullying. So you have the authorities trying to indirectly tell you that, it's like, come on. It's like, it's there, so we cannot stop it. And then you have the kids who are, like, directly bullying you. So I feel like in school, you have, like, no choice but to just, kind of distance yourself from everyone. And that's what forces kids to change themselves, like, because they don't want to be there bullied by other people. So some people, take off the hijab or, like, do something for their own safety. And I feel like it's sad that we have to change so much of ourselves to fit into society that, is it even worth it at the end of the day?
But I think today, the authorities have somewhat become more, I guess, acceptance or welcome, different students now. I think they're more supportive of it now, and they, condemn it, of course. But of course, the students then obviously they still bully, and they still unfortunately, some pull off the hijab, some make fun of it. There's a lot of Islamophobia when it comes to certain places where there's a lack of knowledge about what Islam really is. But yeah, I think it's somewhat better now compared to how it was before, like 10 years ago. Definitely, it's a huge change.
Yeah, and do you feel like some people, they're like kind of like when they go to school, they're like ashamed to be Muslims? Yeah. Yeah. Get that.
It's actually true because there were some kids, I think around high school, and
Yeah.
they were Muslims, and they were I don't want to release their race or anything, but they were actually
Not race, address. Or
yeah,
address or
but
something.
they were actually ashamed, and they would change their name like to Megan or like something else to
Wow.
be more whitewashed, and they would eat haram stuff like chicken or like stuff from outside, and I'm like, but it's not allowed. Like, oh, it's America, we could do anything. We're in the land of that. We have to assimilate into the culture, into their own society, and then they change themselves to fit into something that's not even theirs. So I feel like a lot happens.
I feel like a lot of like Muslims our age, especially, they try to like fit into the status quo, into like what like the American or like the Western society wants them to be, and that's just like that's not. I mean, that's not their identity, and I feel like we shouldn't be afraid of being ourselves, because when we are ourselves, that's the best thing about everyone. That everyone's so unique.
One of the beautiful thing about America, especially America here in the Western world, is that America is a country where a lot of different people of different ethnicities, of different backgrounds, of different colors and races come here, and they all welcome each other with their different cultures and religions, and we all are acceptance. Yeah, in other countries, maybe in the Western world, they're not like how America is, but America is like a pot full of all these flavors, and that's what makes America so unique. And I think in America, especially, that's why like acceptance to like minorities of different backgrounds is such a huge role, huge thing.
If you're watching from Pakistan, we love you too.
Well, according to like
If you don't mind.
to some Muslims, a lot of them, some of them, I don't know.
Most of them.
Well, well, they're ashamed to be Muslim, and they try and blend in to society.
Yeah.
They try and blend in. If some people, because some people, well, for me, they can't even recognize I'm Muslim. Really,
Convenient.
very convenient
Well,
But-
obviously there's a difference.
for you. They
Yeah.
know they're Muslim.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
Really?
Yeah.
Of course, you're wearing a hijab.
Obviously, yeah,
Yeah.
it's obviously a lot.
Yeah.
A lot different.
Yeah.
But for me, well, if you go there, they just think I'm so Indian.
Oh yeah, I could
So-
see
so-
it happens. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. There's like a cultural, like like because obviously being South Asian, you all sometimes some people like
Yeah.
look up, they mistake you for looking, some part of the world of
Yeah,
the
that's
countries.
true. Like when I was in school, they're like, "Oh, he's one of us." I was like, "One of us."
I feel like we can't really like blame the people, because I think it's more of the system. Because
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
not the people's fault that they. I mean, to an extent, it's their fault that they don't try to get knowledge, but it's mostly the system's fault for not making these things more accepting into the culture of
They're
America.
kind of putting blame on them.
Yeah, like even when I was in school, when I was in like middle school or one of those, right? Whenever if I saw like a Muslim kid, it would be like some secret agent, He'd be like, I'd be like, like wink wink, and he'd be like, wink wink, and I'd say, "Are you a Muslim?" And he'd say no, and then we'd go behind the corner and say, "I'm a Muslim too," and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And there was like 3 of them. Right.
Wow.
I mean, I'm not gonna give names, but Shri. Just kidding.
I remember there was this one kid. I was in middle school in California, and this one kid came up to me, and he was like, "Oh, I'm a Muslim too because I wear the hijab." And I was like, "Oh,
Wow.
hi, assalamu alaikum." He's like, "Yeah, I'm like the only one here, so nice to see another, Muslim face here." And I was like, and I felt so like, I loved that. I appreciated that so much, and I was like, at least someone felt comfortable and had a little sense of community with another person, that they're not alone. So I felt nice because of that. But yeah, I mean, it matters a lot, having a sense of community in your
And then the people in the class threw garbage at you.
I know.
I'm just kidding. So that's the thing. It's about being proud to be a Muslim, understanding, our faith, and yeah, because in most places, unless we're mostly surrounded by mostly Muslims in America. Of course, they have the hardest time with all the things going on over here. Maybe someone else in an undisclosed location in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea, obviously it's going to be a little different for them. But yeah, as a Muslims and living in America, If you're watching in Pakistan, we love you too, of course. But as Muslims in America, we have to understand that, of course, everything around us is so different. It's not, a lot of people don't agree with us, the majority. Of course, they're different people. They have, they live different ways. And it's not so much about, of course you have to adjust, but it's not just about, understanding their culture and their, stuff and, trying to be like them. We have to understand who we are as Muslims. We have to understand our duty to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we have to, use all of that. Like, for example, most people don't pray. Most people here don't pray. Most people don't pray, 5 times a day. So they see that as like, oh my gosh, you guys pray 5 times a day. When I told somebody that, they're like, wow, you're really religious. I was like, how do you know? But 5 times a day, it's regular for us. And of course, people in, you go to the only Muslim countries like Iran, right? There's other countries that have Muslims, but Iran is the only, like the main one.
Islamic Republic.
It's the only Islamic republic.
Yeah.
No, even Pakistan is actually too.
Not really.
It's titled that actually, Islamic
titled,
Republic of
but it's
Pakistan.
not.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's not,
It's, yeah, I agree.
not
Yeah,
like
it's like
that's
Iran.
right.
It's different. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a mini Western country now.
Yeah, they're being invaded by America
Yep.
in terms of
The
culture.
law is based on British common law.
Yeah, British common laws definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. You go there, like, for example, if you go to, there's like, I forgot which street, Defense something,
Uh-huh.
and there's like thousands of, like just American restaurants. Oh my gosh,
I know,
where am I?
Like, they don't have anything authentic, even though you expect them to have like their own cultural
Yeah.
stuff there. They appreciate Western stuff so much as if, it's like gold to them, but they don't realize that they're the actual gold. Their culture is so appreciated,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they're the ones that don't
Yeah.
appreciate it, and it's sad actually.
And the sad part is, it doesn't even taste as good. What I mean?
Exactly,
Yeah,
it
I feel
doesn't.
like
Yeah.
a lot of places, especially like the countries that we come from, they think that like this Western society is like so advanced and
I know.
it's like really like on a
And-
different level and we have to be like them. But
And this
at-
Western society is nothing. It's literally nothing. It's
Exactly.
I do not endorse
it. It's something like used to mean nothing. It's like it's that it's not that big of a deal. Like how Pakistanis are trying to make the Western society seem like, oh my God, what is this? Like Pakistani is like like it's just South Asian. Like if they embrace their culture in Pakistan and they embrace who they are, they can advance to a whole new other level, right? And then if you embrace yourself, then the whole world will start embracing you, right?
Yeah.
And so like there'll be like a mixture culture, and people accept you, and then people see who you really are, get educated about yourself, and that'd be so wonderful. In fact, then Americans or like the Westerns will start adapting your culture
Exactly.
if you start adapting your culture
Yeah.
first.
And I also feel like that, if they follow the Western society, it's a good thing because they should focus on how modern technology we have, how we give basic rights, how we know education we're giving out. They shouldn't follow the demeaning stuff like who has the most, like being famous on social media, trying to be a celebrity. That's not the real goal in life. You should learn about the basic education, having rights, doing good to other people. They don't focus on that. They just focus on the cheap stuff that they want to do, And I
Yeah.
feel like that's not what you should focus on in life, especially if you're an Islamic Republic country.
No, I mean the title though.
Title. Yeah.
Controversial.
Let's
Yeah.
put that up.
Yeah, it's controversial, so.
Yeah, I mean, so that's why. Because obviously, like, all the other countries basically look up to America as, like, the standard.
Yeah.
So that's why even when Muslims, they come to America, they think, like, oh, I want to be like those guys,
Because
And then-
America is seen as the platform, as the basic.
Yeah, so, yeah, of course. So that's why even, like, when Muslims, they come in, they really change everything, lose their job. There's this one person, no name in specific, of course, it's an example of all the time. People go to school and, they take off their jobs, and then when they come back to their parents pick them up, whatever, they put it back on, And that's because they're just so, embarrassed and so basically ashamed that they want to be like the other people.
Sometimes it's not even about embarrassment. Like, I personally seen a lot of girls in high school, no names, they would
Addresses, please.
they would take off their hijabs on the trains and on the way to
Oh.
school. So I'm just like, listen, and it's not even about like their parents. They just want to look nice. And I'm like, you're in high school. At this time, we were like, I'm so focused on studies. Why do you want to look this way? Like,
But everyone has different goals.
everyone has different goals,
Yeah.
but that does not mean you take off your hijab. Like, your hijab is such a beautiful thing. I feel like hijab, like, you hear what Bibi Zainab had done for the sake of the hijab, the sake of parda, and you're gonna take it off as if it's just a piece of cloth.
But the thing
Like-
is that not everybody has like the same level of hadayat or the same level of understanding or the same level of awareness or even like the same family backgrounds, right? Like some family backgrounds, they're like
Yeah.
religious, some family backgrounds are loose. In fact, I had a friend whose, when she started the hijab, her mother was
Yeah.
confused. She was like, why are you wearing the hijab? She
Yeah.
literally said that to her. And you know, so it's about your background, it's about your education and awareness. I think hijab has a lot of factors in it and you can't just see one-sided to it though.
Yeah, I see, but you see a lot of people, they go to school, they receive education, they're studying and everything, but you're so focused on like society education that why aren't you learning the meaning behind hijab? Why don't you educate yourself on that and see why do you wear it? Why is it so important?
A level
And then
of
you-
maturity is
And then you realize that, listen, if it'll make up, like, I had a friend, she took it off, she will take it on and off. So I'm like, listen, if you want to do it, choose one side. You cannot disrespect it because it has a lot of meaning and a lot of importance to it. And she just eventually took it off. And that is more respectful of taking it off instead of being half
I
it,
mean,
you know?
I didn't say that.
I mean, the thing is that, you know, I think the best way is to say, you know, is this disrespectful that you're doing this? I think is that you should educate them and tell them, hey, you know, what's the meaning behind it and why this act doesn't seem so well, right? Because being respectful and kindness can be, you know, an act that which lives on with you. So when you do that, then they understand that, oh, okay. And then, you know, you explain to them and these are the options and then they take whatever they are. But of course, you know, you pray for them because obviously hadayat is in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's hands and no one
Yeah.
else's. But hijab is a very, I think, a struggle with Muslim women and it's hard. It's not easy, you know. I mean, growing up, it wasn't easy because you were different. You stood out and everybody would stare at you. You come in the room like, oh, hijab is here, you know. And of course, all those jokes about, you know, terrorism and everything. Of course, it's not easy, but not everyone can get through it, and not everyone is the same. You know.
Yeah, everyone is not the same, but I mean, isn't it mentioned in the Quran to cover yourself? Right? It's mentioned in
Yeah.
that. So
We started with injustice. We got the pizza. Now
Well,
we're at
no, I mean taking
continue.
taking on and off the hijab is also also injustice because you are disrespecting it so much. It's not
Yes.
fair to Bibi Zainab who stood up for justice and stood
Of
up for our hijabs and you're gonna disrespect it like that. I feel like that's injustice to us Muslims. We are here every day facing racism and facing all these problems to protect our hijabs and you're gonna disrespect it like that. I
Yeah.
think that's totally unfair.
I mean, it's kind of sad because we're wasting all our content here. This was supposed to be a whole mini series. You could talk about this job.
You could just like cut it off.
Yeah,
and
go
There
put it
goes
Right,
somewhere
5,000
else.
views.
Yeah.
Well,
I think it's a strong subject though because I feel like in especially Pakistani culture, it's like kind of looked down upon
Yes,
to women
definitely.
who wear hijab or
And niqab too.
yeah.
and especially just people who are religious. It's like looked down like people like if you're religious, people would like think you're like not normal. They think you're like messed up in the head.
yeah, like there is like I was saying, there's the difference. Some people see like I said, reading namaz 5 times a day as like severe, right? They're really religious, and even with hijab, you know, there's the people who wear half, and then there's the people who wear the full. What's it called?
The shuttercock.
Yeah, then they wore the full thing.
The burqa,
So where's
yeah.
like the middle person just doing what you have to do, the required. But unfortunately, really, we don't really see the middle ground. There's usually just the two extremes. Either they're wearing it, they don't care, or the opposite of that.
Or if they're wearing full, or if they're wearing half. Then if they're wearing full, or if they're wearing half. But then there's also the nun in there, just as a regular scarf, and not as a hijab, just a scarf.
Yeah, but the thing is that with the point of view that they say about nuns and like Muslims wearing hijabs, is that they say that that the nuns wear it with their consent, but the Muslims are forced with it, you know. So then there's another controversy that comes up with a consent topic. But anyways, you know, yeah, yeah, no, we could just like leave it out. But yeah, but back to the topic, injustice.
Yeah.
Going back to the topic, like kind of mixing both of the topics.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of people like perceive women who wear the hijab as like they're facing injustice,
Yeah.
and they think it's like something like people are forcing them to wear it. But I don't think people realize the beauty behind it.
Yeah. And that is all we're talking about this for the next 5 years. This part will probably get edited out. But yeah, so going back to the topic, as 3 of people have already said, in which Muslims have to be proud. Like you were saying, people go, they take off their jobs. And the same thing with, men. They go to school, they shave off their beards, and then they put it back on before they
That's
leave.
true. That's true.
Yeah. little mustache, the fake mustache. I've never actually seen that, but it would be a good movie. So yeah, just keeping, like I said, being neutral, really. You can do what you're doing in, our current society while also understanding, your duties to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that has to be, you have to find that middle ground. You don't want to be eating haram food. You don't want to be, doing bad things. But at least stay in the middle somewhere where it's not bad. It's not harming you. And so that was the topic, raising your voice against injustice. Now, going back to the original question, now that everyone has talked for about 45 minutes, why should we care about, all the problems going on if it doesn't affect us? Because nobody answered.
Okay.
Yes?
So basically, if we don't speak up for this, it will spread, right?
Yeah.
If we don't cut it in the bud, it'll spread, it'll grow. If we condemn the action, then and label it as an act of evil, as a bad deed, then this act will stay hidden. It'll stay in the dark, and it'll eventually, hopefully, fade away, right? If we don't suppress oppression, it will happen eventually to everyone. There'll be genocides. There'll be harmful acts. There'll be violence. Violence will be incited. Yeah, violence will be incited, right? And so that's what we have to avoid. As a community, we should have harmony, peace, justice, and prosperity. That's what we should aim for. And if we don't aim for that, then it's going to be the opposite. And, it's eventually going to be, are we going to blow away our civilization?
But I don't agree on that. I mean, it doesn't-
Okay. How so?
Debate, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because, like you're talking about, because what if people say that it doesn't, what could one person do? Like, what if one person in your family says something and then the other 10 people say something else? Then what do you do?
I mean, if you've seen it in the way, like, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has always sent one prophet to every nation, one prophet at a time, right? He didn't send multiple prophets or okay, everyone take care of this region and everything. He said one. He sent one leader every time for everything. There's been a one imam for every time period. One imam that is present till now, right? Alhamdulillah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. And if we if we look at that, then we can see that, hey, this is one person. But of course, this one person that is a leader, then you have obviously the other people who are inspired by that one person. One candle can inspire, spark other candles, right?
Not if the candle burns out.
I mean, yeah, but
you know.
that doesn't happen, does it? If you ever lit a candle with one candle.
I think I would have to agree with the sister.
Agree? Come on.
Yeah, because I feel like if you set a good example, it's like those blocks. What are they called? Dominoes. It's like a domino effect.
Yeah.
If you do something good, I think kindness. It's like when you yawn, other people start to yawn.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's why.
Have you seen the experiment
Yeah.
on YouTube? Like, have you seen it,
Mhm.
Muhammad?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's exactly.
I made that, by the way. Just kidding. But I guess. But like we were saying, you're talking about dominoes. So somebody has to set up the dominoes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
person sets
Yeah.
the dominoes and they start to fall.
That one
So what
person.
could one Jack Schmo, what could he do? What could one person do, really?
And spark inspiration.
Something little as just like telling someone something about Islam, for example, telling someone a story about the imams.
Huh.
That could inevitably change that person's life. Give someone some spiritual advice.
I mean, we got the biggest example, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and
Love.
he was kind to everyone, not just the Muslims. He was kind to the Christians. He was kind to the Jewish, and he didn't care what faith they were from. He just showed humanity, and his main message was to be kind to everyone. So I mean, who are we not to do that? I mean, isn't that what we Muslims are responsible for? To follow his sunnah, to be
Yeah,
kind.
good
So
point.
if he saw someone that was in trouble, he wouldn't care what faith he was from. He saw that he is a human and he is in need and he will help them. So how can we Muslims not help other people saying that, oh, they're Christians, they don't even follow us, why should we help them? We should all stick up for everyone, because that is what our Prophet has taught us.
Yeah, I think it comes down to, I feel like some people just have this mindset of this person can get supported and this person can't.
Yeah, like the ignorance, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a lot. That's really
Pick and choose.
that-
Yeah.
yeah, pick and choose. I feel like that's gotten bigger this year.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Things
I
have
agree, I
some
agree.
things have overshadowed others
Yeah.
that are like really important. Like you could see like these like humanitarian movements are like becoming like trends. Like people do it for like quote unquote clout
Oh,
to
yes.
to just like show that they're woke or they have or
We don't endorse that word.
they're
But that they, support all the oppression and then the good side, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like you were saying about like just retweeting something or liking something.
Yeah.
Doesn't do anything at all. So what would your, what would your message be to, Masood Tamuri? Some random guy who doesn't think he has to do anything. What would your message be to him?
Okay. Well, firstly, education and awareness.
This is to Masood, yes.
Yes. So basically, educate him and create awareness about it and say, hey, let's talk about this, right?
Yeah.
Conversation can be a huge deal.
Just a
step
basic
forward.
conversation
Yeah, basic
starting off, yeah.
conversation. And then say, okay, now what do you think about it? Then he presents his point of views and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Then to debate and talk. And then you show that, okay, if God forbid something was happening to you and your family, wouldn't you like someone to support you and help you, your
Because
neighbors?
of course we don't want, as Muslims, you don't want to force anything. upon
Definitely
anyone.
not. No, no.
Just show them.
Yeah, definitely. Started with kindness, started with that, with talks, and then say like, well, if God forbid your house was on fire, the neighbors will come. They will call the firefighters, the police, right? Even the firefighters and the police are helping you, right? Outside of force,
Mhm.
So if you don't have that support, or those people that have these roles and responsibilities, they eventually, the fire would spread, and like the whole community would be on fire,
Yeah.
And so you gotta help one another. You gotta put out the fire one house at a time and stuff like that, I guess you could say. But yeah, like you need somebody. It's crucial for humanity to survive that someone is there to help. Someone is there
Yes.
responsible for this.
But also in today's society, there is a lot of independency. A lot of people want to be independent, so they're to like, oh, I'm not gonna ask for help. Then I'm not that type of person to ask for help. But even if I do get help, I don't, because I believe that I should be able to do everything.
Yeah.
I have seen a lot of people like that, and there are people like, even if a person like I know that person's not going to help others, and I should help that person if he's ever in trouble, he or she will still decline the help. They're like, you know what, I don't want your help, I can't do this. They will
Yeah.
literally be in fire and still won't accept help. Today's people
I don't
are
know about
majority.
that, but,
no, I'm serious. Like
Yeah,
not like
these people are
fire.
narcissist people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
not
I
like-
mean,
strong
fire.
personality.
Yeah,
Fire.
strong
Yeah.
personality,
Yeah.
and it's kind of sad to see them like we're here, we want to help you, but like there's just stubborn egos.
Continue to help them.
No, I don't think you should
What
continue to
I've
help
heard
them.
is that- What
No.
I've heard is that you can tell someone 3 times, and
Yes.
after the 3 times, it's on them. And
Exactly.
if you know that you did your part to try to help someone,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's enough. And if they don't change, it's on them.
But like, shouldn't you help them? Like, if God forbid, like they with life and death, though.
I mean, we told them already, if they don't want help, they don't want help.
Well, if you want to help, and if they don't accept your help, you should still keep trying to push it
Yeah.
and still try and
Yeah.
change them, because maybe they still have a little spark, but you just have to push them.
That's where I disagree.
3 times.
Yeah, after 3 times, I believe
you're
that,
right.
I mean, how much, like, you can't just put all your pressure and force into one person. There's other people
no.
that need help too. Like, if I'm consistently telling you I'm here to help
but
you,
some people
and they're not
feel-
listening, then I'm like, okay, I'll
Some
put this
people-
energy somewhere else.
Some people would feel like maybe ashamed.
Yeah, I
to
understand
ask
that,
for one help,
but
so that's why you have
tha-
to ask them, a few times.
that's why
Well-
to engage in conversation. You have to tell them, listen, it's confidential. I'm here. I'll help you. But after 3 times, you cannot just waste all your energy there.
But like life and death situation, I think you should definitely help that person if it's not causing you harm.
Well,
I
I've
think it really depends on the situation.
yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the.
Depends on the situation. If it's a life or death situation, obviously you should go above 3 times. But I think it's really about you telling the person that's already something really big that you're doing.
Yeah.
You're telling someone you're trying to help someone. And I think the 3 times rule is just because I think after 3 times it should kind of like affect someone. And if it doesn't affect them, I guess that's like kind of on them.
Well, even after 3 times, if they don't budge, you should still keep trying to push over, because maybe they have a little spark left, but they keep denying it, and then maybe the spark will just take over. You have
Yeah,
to
that's
keep,
possible.
you at least have to give it more of a spark. Because if you only give 3 times, then you at least have to give them more of a chance. Because if you just give up on them, then oh yeah, go ahead, screw you. It doesn't make sense.
And it obviously depends on, like you're saying about the situation and the person. Because if it's somebody, you're asking someone, oh, can I help you with your groceries? Some random, lady down the street, and she's like,
Yeah.
no. And then you're like, no, can I help you? She says, no. And then you just, can I help you? She says, no. Then walk away. It's not like that.
Just take her groceries and run away.
Yeah.
Like, no,
No, you
No,
were going for
definitely.
her wallet, not her groceries.
Yeah.
But, just, it's stuff like that. That basic good deeds. Because in the end, I mean, we all know that you get rewarded for intention as well.
Definitely, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so even if, but obviously if it's like a close friend, they need help moving out their garage, then, and you're free on, what day was it, Mama? Oh, Monday,
Yeah.
Something like that. That's the situation.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Again, on the situation, it completely changes the whole scenario and the rules and the stuff like that.
But when it's a relative, you should definitely keep going. At least give them some force.
That means I'm gonna be expecting a lot of help from you.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
definitely gonna cut out. That's definitely gonna cut out. No one's supposed to know you're a relative. Not supposed to.
Well, I guess that basically puts a bow tie on it, what Hussein just said. Thank you, Hussein. Well, so that's all the time we have left for today. Thank you for everyone who participated in our program. We went over a lot of stuff this program.
It was
Yeah.
only supposed to be like 20 minutes.
What should I put in the title? I don't even know.
Oh, it's gonna cut out a lot of stuff, right?
Random
we're not gonna
thoughts.
cut out
We're
anything.
cutting out this entire segment.
We
right
don't
now.
have
Let's
that
just
much
start it
time.
again. Let's just start it again.
I think this should be.
Yeah.
Start the
So,
ending again.
yeah.
No, this is
Well, that's
live,
all the
right?
time we left for today. Thank you for everyone who participated in our program. Now we're going to do Allahumma kulli waliyika for the safety and protection of our 12th Imam, and inshallah we are all helpers of our 12th Imam. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma kulli waliyika al-hujjat ibn al-Hasan. Salawatuka alayhi wa ala abai. في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. Once again, thank you for everyone who participated in our program. The next time you will see this exact program will be over Zoom. So, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.